Hola, bienvenidos. Hoy vamos a hablar de tres cosas: el verbo ser, la diferencia entre tú y usted y un poquito sobre la cultura hispana. Ok, empezamos primero con los verbos en general, porque vamos a hablar del verbo ser, the verb ser, pero primero quiero hablar generalmente sobre los verbos en español. Tienen tres terminaciones. Pueden terminar con cualquier de estos tres: AR, ER o IR, como estos verbos tomar, toser, sufrir. Y cuando terminan así, significan to something. Por ejemplo, tomar significa to take, toser significa to cough y sufrir significa to suffer. Y nosotros también en inglés, en English, nosotros también conjugamos los verbos, pero si inglés es tu primer idioma, tal vez no estás consciente, maybe you're not consciously, tal vez no sabes que estás conjugando los verbos. Por ejemplo, si estamos diciendo con el verbo to take, nosotros decimos I take, o you take, o he or she takes. Aquí es la conjugación. We take, you guys take, or they take. So we do the same thing in English. We conjugate verbs too. In Spanish, it is different, but it follows the same pattern. Por ejemplo, el verbo tomar usan pronombres como nosotros. Nosotros usamos I, you, he, she, we, you guys, or they, or you all. This could be you all. En español usamos yo for I, tú for you, él, ella is, él is he, ella, she. Usted is another way to say you. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. Nosotros is we. Vosotros is you guys or you all. And ellos is they, masculine, for like men, or it can be a mix of men and women. Ellas is only females, a group saying they. And ustedes is you all. Informally use it in Mexico, for example. There's different ways, so people use it differently. These are vosotros and ustedes. It just depends on where you live. And then we conjugate the verb. I'll talk more about how to conjugate verbs later, but basically you're taking off this AR and you add an ending. So in this one it's tomo, so yo tomo, tú tomas, él, ella, usted toma, nosotros tomamos, vosotros tomáis, y ellos, ellas, ustedes toman. So that is just basic conjugating verbs in Spanish. Again, you won't have to really do much of that for this first week, and we'll get into it more later, but we will be doing stuff with the verb ser. So este verbo ser es un verbo. It's a verb. It's an action word, and it follows conjugation patterns, which we'll get to in a second. But these are the uses of ser. So the acronym we use is doctor, and it's when you use the verb ser. So for people who are not like language minded, you're probably like, it means to be. So the verb ser means to be. But what does that mean? That would be like me saying like, I am, I'm a teacher, or she is super nice, right? So the date is one way we use it in Spanish. You can say hoy es 2 de octubre. So saying is, this is like saying is. Your occupation. Yo soy una acupunturista. I am an acupuncturist. Your characteristics, if you're describing someone, él es alto, that's a physical characteristic. I am tall, or he is tall, that means. And ella es simpática, she is nice. So you're saying is and am. Time, when you're saying what time it is, you say son las 3:30. This would be, it is 3:30. The origin, so where someone is from, we'd say, this could be somos de Wisconsin. I'd say we are from Wisconsin. And your relationship to someone would also be one. So this one says, tú eres mi amiga, or you are my friend. So these are reasons you'd use the verb ser. And the reason I put them in here, and the reason people use this acronym, doctor, is because there is another verb in Spanish, which we're not going to even get into today, but it means the same thing. So you have to memorize the reasons you use this verb so that you know when to use it and when not to. So I put little asterisks here for the ones that we'll use for this class. So you will talk about your occupation, you will talk about time, and you might talk about where someone is from. Okay, aquí es el verbo ser. Significa to be en inglés. Otra vez con los pronombres yo, tú, él, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes, and it conjugates like this. It is completely irregular, so when I was talking about that pattern earlier, it does not follow a pattern. It says yo soy, tú eres, él, usted es. So I could say él es, or ella es, or usted es. I could also use that with things. So I could say the table is big. I could say la mesa es grande. You're describing something's physical. It doesn't have to be a person. Nosotros somos, vosotros sois, ellos, ellas, ustedes son. Okay, so you know how the verb looks, and you have learned about the character, when to use it. So here are a couple sample questions. So if I said, ¿cuál es tu trabajo? I'm saying, what is your job? If I'm saying, what is your job? ¿Cuál es tu trabajo? You need to respond with, my job is, or I am. And in this case, we're saying, yo soy doctora. I am a doctor. ¿Qué hace ella? What does she do? So this is not you anymore. Now we're talking about someone else. Ella meaning she. You would now think about what you're going to say. You would say, she is whatever she is, right? So, ella es una quiropráctica. All right, I left the verb out here. So this says, blank usted la señora Gomez? And she said, sí, soy yo. So she's saying, blank you, señora Gomez? And she says, yes, I am. So she's asking, are you señora Gomez? And she's saying, yes, I am. So you're looking for the verb from ser that matches usted. So you could go back and look at that chart that it's also in your book. And it is going to be es. ¿Es usted la señora Gomez? Are you Mrs. Gomez? And she said, yes, I am. ¿Quiénes son ellas? Who are they? Who are those people? Who are those girls over there? And then you would have say, they are whatever they are. In this case, ellas son las enfermeras. They are, see how these go together? the nurses. Okay, moving on. The differences between usted and tú. So when we saw that chart before, there are two ways to say you in Spanish. You can either say tú or you can say usted. The difference is that one is used informally and one is used formally. When you are using tú, you're using it with children, close friends, siblings, when you're upset, like, which isn't, let's hope that doesn't happen with a patient, but close parental relationships. Usted is used with clients, elderly, parents, business employees, and just in generally to show respect. So you guys as doctors, you will use usted with patients. This is very important. It does not come naturally. Most people want to use tú, but you need to be using usted. Elderly. The other thing is just to show respect. So this is just kind of like, sometimes when we're talking to like a close friend, even if they're not older than me, you might use that if you want to show respect to someone. All right. So this is where it falls on the like kind of map here. So I didn't really explain this well earlier, but when you look at that chart, you're saying everything on this side is just one person, and everything over here is more than one person. Then over here you have, this is all first person, so this is where it says I, and this is where it's we. Here is second person, so you're talking to someone, you say you. That's where tú is, and then again, vosotros. And, excuse me, third person is saying like he or she, usually. The weird thing though is that usted, or I shouldn't say weird, the different thing about Spanish is that usted falls into the third person part of the chart. That doesn't mean you're talking about someone, you're still talking to that person, but this is where you find the conjugation for that. All right, moving on. Your Spanish-speaking patients, tus pacientes hispanohablantes. There's an article that you'll be reading this week, and it talks a little bit about characteristics of Hispanic and Latin American culture. One of the things that is in there is about the terms Latino and Hispanic. And we should say, in Spanish, you'll say Latino or Hispano. Latino refers to someone's country of origin. So if someone is from Latin America, they are not Latino if they are from Spain or Portugal, because that is not Latin America, that's Europe. Hispanic refers to someone whose country primarily speaks Spanish. So this term Hispanic excludes people who come from countries that speak Portuguese. So for example, someone from Brazil would be Latino because they're from Latin America, but not Hispanic because they don't speak Spanish. It's a country that is Portuguese speaking. Or likewise, someone from Spain would be Hispanic, but they would not be Latino. Okay? But the caveat here is if someone calls themselves one of these words, continue to use it. We are not the terminology police, and there are other terms like Latinx, but I haven't encountered many people who use that term. All right, so that is it for my part this week. On your Moodle page, you also have 2 different other lessons that you'll be doing about pronouncing and reading Spanish, and then also about nouns and number. So those are 2 really important things that will help you with your quiz this week. All right. Thanks so much for listening along, and I hope to meet each and every one of you really soon.